Hello, everybody. Ben Rogers here, the Raptors Digest, reacting to the Toronto Raptors 106 to 120 loss to the Boston Celtics. Riker, this was a tough one. We've had a lot of tough games against the Boston Celtics as of late, and tonight was no different. The team really just couldn't get their game going. Obviously, the fifth game in 7 nights for the Toronto Raptors. It feels like that hasn't happened since the lockout season, but the guys were fatigued, but no excuse up for because the Celtics were coming off a long road trip themselves. So, just a messy game for this team.
Yeah, Ben, I'm gonna say I might be frozen here. No, I'm not. I'm gonna say first we're doing live new. It's a new basically way to react to these games. So if you want to participate in these things, you're watching after the fact. Make sure to subscribe, turn on the notifications. You can participate into the comment section as we're going along. But Ben, let me summarize this game in 30 seconds for you. I don't even have the stats pulled up because I memorized the pain right at the front of my brain to recite here at the beginning. It's that the Raptors, before the scrubs came out, that final 2 minutes, they were up 38 to 34 in field goals made, and they were down 12 at that point. They were shooting 50% to the Boston Celtics 42%, down 12 points. Add insult to injury, it was Semi Ojeleye and Braden Pritchard that scored majority of the threes for the Boston Celtics. They're not even the fifth, sixth option of this team. That'd be like Bembry and Stanley Johnson coming out and getting a 25 piece each, basically. So that's just discouraging when you lose a game that way. And really, you clamp the best players on this Boston team. And then finally, Ben, there was a 4.5 minute stretch where you stop Boston 9 field goal attempts in a row, but then you don't score for 9 field goal attempts in a row. And then, as the title suggests, layups, layups, layups. It was tragic in the interior. I'm going to call Tice for the rest of the season Little Tice because he's all of 6'7" most, and yet he's blocking 6'10", 6'11", Siakam and Boucher. I don't know what kind of backwards world we live in, Ben.
There was at least a 6 minute stretch where the Toronto Raptors, every single layup they took was either a miss and completely wide open, a miss or a block shot from, you mentioned it, either Tice, Jaylen Brown. I think even Kemba got in there on one of them. It might have been one of the guards, but absolutely just ridiculous for this Toronto Raptors team who's filled with athletes. We didn't have our sort of short shooting guard lineup on the court for most of this one. Obviously, Fred and Lowry do play together, but it wasn't like we're running a tiny micro ball like the Houston Rockets. We have guys like Pascal Siakam, Aaron Baines, who we're going to talk about a lot tonight. These guys underneath the rim who are capable of using their body and getting the shots up. It seemed like Lowry for that stretch was the only player that got us out of it, but we were throwing the ball straight into these players. We were going up a little bit just soft, it felt like. I think it's the team looked fatigued tonight, and it's not an excuse for as to why we lost, because we shouldn't have been fatigued. We should come out with energy and all that sort of stuff. And Nick Nurse, if he sees players are tired, maybe run a deeper bench, maybe get Paul Watson, Matt Thomas, these guys in there. But this team just didn't have the bounce tonight, and it's a shame because Siakam had his best game, it felt like, against the Celtics since 2019, and Kyle Lowry obviously is just an absolute monster, but the likes of Aaron Baines, Norman Powell struggling around the rim, particularly in the second half, Fred VanVleet disappearing once again. It's just a tough watch for this team, especially when you have a couple guys playing well.
Yeah, and you're going to release an article very shortly about potentially tanking, and I know that that's a scary concept for a lot of Raptors fans. Certainly seems maybe an overreaction just because of this loss, but we're back into conversation for should there be an all-star on this Raptors team, and who could it possibly be, right? Fred VanVleet is 54-point game and then followed it up with a 1 for 7 from 3, a 5-point game against Boston. You know, there's just so much inconsistency with this team, and again, I think that people will criticize the Raptors defense on this one, but they kept the Boston Celtics to 8% worse from the field than they were shooting at that point. They were still down 11 because they couldn't do anything to control those perimeter shots. And I said it at the beginning, add insult to injury. Not just was it Semi Ojeleye and Peyton Pritchard, but this team is 20th in the league in three-pointers made per game. So it was just a crazy way to lose, not the way you'd expect it. It's hurting that the Raptors were missing OG because you said it, this game favors small ball. But, you know, they were missing Marcus Smart. So it's just one that it's not the way you want the Raptors to lose, if any. and
Mm-hmm.
it was competitive. Even though the
Yep.
Boston Celtics held the Raptors at bay, 14 to 8 points, it was always in that range, but it still felt like they could come back if they just converted their stops to actual layups, but it just never happened, Ben.
Yeah, and we're gonna rip into Baines. We're gonna rip into these guys later in the podcast. I see the chat really going in on Baines right now, but and it's no hate because I'm a fan of the guy. He seems like a cool dude, and I hope we're rooting for him to turn it around. But we'll talk about them after. But we want to dive into a few positives in this game because there was some positive takeaways, as you mentioned, Riker. This game was fairly competitive throughout, even though the Raptors were sort of clawing back the whole way. But one of the biggest positives was Pascal Siakam tonight. 24 points, 6 rebounds, or that's Semi Ojeleye stats, not Pascal Siakam's. 23 points for Pascal Siakam, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, and 8 of 14 from the field, 2 of 4 from the 3-point line. So the threes were going in against Boston, which was nice to see. And for a lot of this game, there was a couple of shots where I saw Siakam, maybe a 2-3 minute stretch in the second quarter where Siakam went back into his shell of himself ways that we saw in the playoffs, and he looked unconfident, a bit afraid, but then things turned around when he hit a corner three. But for the rest of this game, he was being aggressive, he was attacking, he looked explosive. He had one almost nasty poster. It ended up being a foul, but if he finished that one, that would have certainly been maybe the spicy P-lay of the season. But confident Siakam, it's nice to see him have one of those games against a good team, especially a team that has been called in the chat so far in this one the Raptors' kryptonite, and specifically Siakam's, because whether they had Brown on him, Williams, these smaller, bigger defenders that usually are a tough matchup for him, he was able to sort of work his magic, play some bully ball, get to the rim, make powerful, decisive moves. So this is a very encouraging sign for Pascal Siakam going forward. Obviously, there was other holes in this Raptors team tonight, specifically Fred VanVleet and those guys, but if Siakam's playing like this, going forward against good teams, I'm confident we're going to be able to compete with these better teams in the NBA.
Yeah, well, he should have even had a bigger game this evening,
Yeah.
knowing what happened in last playoff bubble, Ben. He should have taken that personally to come back and finish his bunnies in the low post. He has that opportunity to score against these defenders. You're right, they're little bigs. They're not tall bigs, they're just strong bigs. And I'm going to call Little Tice for the rest of the season because he's not tall. He shouldn't have 4 or 5 blocks on the Raptors this game. Siakam should have his way. He should be dominant in the post. I thought even he was a little bit non-assertive at times when he was trying to do dribble moves around Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. These guys are superior mobile, forward guards or combo forwards, whatever you want to call them. Pascal Siakam, he doesn't need to try to dribble around them. Just toss it to him in the low post, Ben. But I agree, he had a good game. It's a good confidence builder. I just want him to improve from this one and be a 30-point per game guy against Boston because really this is a tough series for the guys like Fred VanVleet, who most of Boston, they're all 6'7" to 6'9". They don't have a lot of really little guys. So Siakam needs to be the one to step up.
Yeah, no, that's 1,000% true. But baby steps. Certainly he did have a couple of dribble moves that were a bit messy. So it is what it is, but we're looking at the positives with Pascal. But the guy that we can always count on, especially in big games, and he had that false narrative in the playoffs as a trash bro or whatnot early on in his career, but Kyle Lowry's completely wiped all of that away. He has been our closer. He has been our guy that we can rely, the only real player we can rely upon this season when we're playing against a solid team. Lowry tonight, 24 points, 6 assists, 10 of 15 from the field, and he was getting to the rim at will. And this is an issue with Fred VanVleet because Fred VanVleet's offense really relies upon that three-point shot going down, and then he gets his finishes, he gets his layups around the rim when the teams are closing out to him and they're really playing his three-point shots tight. So that's when his inside game opens up. But Kyle Lowry he's learned the ways of playing opposite, especially when his three-point shot isn't going down like it's completely on fire. But he goes in, whether it's, as you said, what'd you call Tice?
Little Tice.
Whether it's Little Tyson there who's playing like Hakeem Olajuwon or someone out there, like playing like Chris Boucher, Dikembe Mutombo getting blocks. Whether it's him down there, Lowry's just shoving his body right in the way of him and finishing around those guys in the paint. Whether it's Jaylen Brown, bigger guards that you said Fred VanVleet really struggles with, he just has his way and gets to the spots on the court he wants to finish with. Whether it's on the right side with those sort of right-hand scoop layups or on the left side where he shoves that looks like a 300-pound frame into him and gets that little fadeaway going. So Kyle Lowry, a guy that can sort of create his own shot. He's the only guy that can reliably do it night in, night out. So in big games, he kind of relaxes in some of them. But people are saying trade this guy, and we obviously had the reports that he's selling his house. He put it on the market in Toronto. News came out today that the Toronto Raptors are going to officially play in Tampa Bay for the rest of the season. So that's coming at similar times. So maybe that's more of the correlated timing of this house selling rather than the trade rumor. So that's a positive. But still, that could be an indication his long-term plans are in question or whatnot. I'm of the boat, even though Kyle Lowry's older, people have been expecting him to fall off a cliff for a while now. Max this guy out this summer. Give him 10 years, $45 million. I don't care if he's 45 years old. We need Kyle Lowry on this roster going forward. I do not want to trade him. I don't want to lose him in the future. Obviously, he's not going to be the starting guy for us for many years to come, because definitely with that age. But what he brings to the table, I want this guy to retire a Raptor.
I'm so torn on that train of thought now, Ben. The Raptors, they're not a championship team right now. I think it's very easy to identify that. They're below 500. They're scraping to make the playoffs right now. There's something else that needs to be done. And I don't know if holding on to Lowry is the move when, who are the other trade pieces? Norm? Is Norm the guy you want to move? Fred VanVleet can't be traded this season, I don't believe, because the trade deadline sometime in February, and he's not available to trade until March 3rd. OG, we both said we don't really want to move. Maybe. Actually, maybe there's some sort of package.
No.
But this isn't a trade situation, but or podcast by any stretch. But I don't know. To me, Kyle Lowry, on an expiring contract at the age that he is, maybe he's our most marketable asset right now. I don't know. And again, I don't want to get into that in this podcast, but a game like this, it just disappoints me, Ben.
Yeah, it's definitely disappointing all around, and we're going to sort of talk about these guys in the segments, but I guess the last positive we can sort of take away, Norman Powell had a good start, fell off a cliff the rest of the way, and Chris Boucher came out, 12 points, 6 rebounds. I thought he played solid tonight, missed a couple threes. His free throw shooting is, I guess it makes sense with his odd form, but the fact that he makes threes and misses free throws, sort of an interesting look, but 2 for 4 from the free throw line. Stanley Johnson had 9 points. Anyone off the bench that really stood out? Because it seems like, especially with OG being gone and Norman Powell, who's usually that spark plug, we don't really have anyone off the bench that's super exciting, specifically on offense. So anyone sort of catch your eye, especially even Utah, who changes the game when he comes into the game. So anyone off the bench surprise you, Riker?
Nope, no surprises. Swing it to the segments, Ben.
Let's swing it to the segments. Tonight, the spicy P-lay of the day. And there was, I alluded to it earlier, Pascal Siakam almost had that wicket jam over, it might have been Tice as well. Boucher almost had one too at the end when everyone was getting blocked, and Boucher just came in there, swung his arms right into Tice and threw it as a hook. A couple of missed dunks really caught my eye, Riker. Anything else that sort of took you aback?
Did I just get that right? You're giving the spicy Pele to miss dunks?
It's a game for it.
Oh boy, Ben. I'm giving. Not all plays can be the spicy Pele. Some just make you say, "Oh, geez." I'm giving it to Ben Rogers tonight for giving the spicy Pele to missed dunks. That's wild, Ben. What place are we at right now on the Raptors Digest podcast where that's what's the recipient of this award? In the actual game, I thought the one OGs was Norman Powell made a play for the dead ball. It was heading out of bounds. He jumped up. You put this man on the U.S. pole vault team or the high jump team, whatever the one that they just jump over the pole without any assists. That no vaulting. Just, I don't know my Olympic sports. Anyways, he jumped really high out of bounds. He turned. He looked around the court, saved it, got it to Fred VanVleet right on the money. That was an OGs for me, Ben. I don't know if you had something in mind.
Yeah, and we talked about this stretcher. Is that the sport with like the stick and they stick it in the ground?
Not the one with the stick. The one that they just jump over a horizontal bar and it just keeps increasing and
high jump.
Keeps increasing in height. High jump. There you go.
Okay.
Said that.
Okay, but we alluded to it earlier. But the stretch of minutes where everyone was missing layups, Aaron Baines had a moment in this one, right? He's underneath the rim. You're on the right side, right? Like, I coach basketball, you've coached basketball, Riker. We've obviously been 3-year-olds before, right? And the right side of the rim, when there's no one around you, that's the easiest shot in basketball. And we've coached. I coached this year a third grade team, 4 foot, 3 foot high guys. They make that shot pretty consistently. Aaron Baines is 7 foot underneath the rim. I get the putback. Okay, you're in the air. It's like an alley oop. Sure, that's tough, even though you're 7 foot. But then you get it back, and you're on the right side of the rim. Just hit it off that square, and just.
What's the drill called?
Get
What's
some
the
Mike
under
and
the
drills
basket
out there
layups? The Mike and drill
for Aaron Baines, because that was just devastating. And Norman Powell coming in full speed. I know he's buddies with Russell Westbrook, but he's coming in at Russell Westbrook's pace and just flinging it off the backboard. I know a part of that's fatigue and stuff, but that's just messy. That's horrible basketball. The team's just gotta find someone to calm them down at that point and just make your layups, right? So any missed open layup's gonna get an OGs, and when you have about 10 in a row, they're all getting called out. But even worse than that, Riker, finally, the infamous, the one, the only, DeMarre Carroll Gold Star Award. And Fred VanVleet, I wanted to go on a little rant tonight because, again, Fred VanVleet is not a bad basketball player when he's not scoring. Get that out of the way. He had 11 assists tonight. He had a couple turnovers that were like pickpocketed, and those are sort of the demoralizing turnovers when you get the ball just picked from you. It sort of ruins the momentum of the team, and a couple of those happened to Fred tonight, which was unfortunate. But he's a guy that we're looking at now as we were calling him the second option. We were calling him a guy he's getting paid like the second option now. He got that max deal, or that sort of close to max deal, and he's coming out here, and sure, he has games, as you brought up, the 54-point game where you get all excited and things are happening, but he has too many of these nights where he's 1 for 4, 2 for 9 from the field, 5 points, right? Those games can't happen from a guy that's supposed to be your lead guard. He's a guy that everyone's sort of playing to be an all-star, right? He's too important, too integral to this offense to have games like that. And we called him Steady Freddy over the course of his career, early on in his career, and it's really turned from Steady Freddy to Mountain Peak Valley Freddy. I don't know. That nickname's certainly not going to catch on, but it's Riker, what are your thoughts on just Fred's performances this season? Because we were getting down on him before the 54-point game extravaganza happened, and now he had that hyped everyone else up, but he's kind of back to his struggles.
Yeah. Well, he was 1 for 9, 2 for 9 this game, 22%. And Jaylen Brown was 3 for 14, 21%. So, if anything, by field goal percentage, Fred VanVleet did a better job than Jaylen Brown. The only difference is Jaylen Brown is 6'8" to his 6 foot. So, when Fred VanVleet has an off game, what is the way that he's going to play himself out of it? It's making threes. And it's really hard to do that in the modern NBA when you have big defenders against you. So I can understand why he has these ups and downs, because he can't get his game going in the lane. He kind of has to warm up with threes to get his confidence to go and finish tough circus shot layups and really aggressive sort of contact finish layups. So that's the issue with Fred VanVleet. That's the risk that you take paying so much money to a second guard that you're going to start alongside of Kyle Lowry that's only 6 foot tall, because night in and night out, this could happen. But I agree with you. Consistency is the key, and he can't be having 5-point games, 15-point games. We would still probably call that an off game for him. That's as low as he should go. It should be in the 25 to 15. Stooping down to 5, it's going to be tough to win like that, Ben.
Yeah, it's tough. I'm just reading the chat here, and we'll debut our final segment, but someone said we should rename the DeMarre Carroll Gold Matt Lismore, because I want to give a shout out. Rename the DeMarre Carroll Gold Star Award to the Baines Participation Award.
Oh, I like that.
I respect that, but definitely agree with you on all the Fred points. Another mild gold star out to Terrence Davis, because he just really didn't look good tonight. He's been horrific with his decision making this season, has all the potential in the world, but really has to be more focused out there in the games, play better defense if he wants that opportunity. But I still am holding out hope TD will bounce back to his last season form. But yeah, I just sort of hinted at it. We have a new segment to end these live podcasts, and I think we introduced in one of the live shows, but we got it back. I'll play the clip. The final alarm has been sounded, so we obviously haven't been going in the chat too much, but we want to just hear your guys' takes, read them out. I know we're a couple seconds behind, delayed on the chat, but let us know your guys' takes on this game, any trades, any wild stuff you want to hear. I like that Damari Carroll Gold Star name change. If Aaron Baines continues to struggle, we've been thinking about updating that for a while.
To the Aaron Baines Participation Award. That's almost more cutting. That's almost more cutting.
Yeah. We need Drummond ASAP. Riker, has your opinions changed on Andre Drummond?
Yeah, well, you're following up back-to-back performances. You're getting absolutely decimated on the interior by JV. Then in a much worse game, you're getting eaten alive by Alex Len. And now you're following it up. You can't even get good interior shots. You can't even finish layups against Little Tice. Some point you have to say we need a player that's willing to rebound and finish in the paint. And although I hold true on my take that Andre Drummond is one of the most empty stat getters, I would be reluctant to believe that his offensive rebounding, his rebounding in general, wouldn't be an improvement for this team right now. That's where I'm at.
Drummond, Thompson, Tice, Lil Tice, or Zubac? Which one of those four would you want?
Drummond.
I want Lil Tice. This guy has been icy this season. Duan Hernandez, do we call him up from the 905?
No.
Why?
What do we have to gain?
He's got a Jimmy, man. We saw him in the bubble. He had a couple of nice crossovers in the 6 minutes of action I feel like he played in last season. So, I don't know. I wouldn't be that hating on it. Let's see what else is going on here. Yo, OG at the 5. OG at the 5. That's what people are saying.
That's the move for this game. You know, Tristan Thompson is not an imposing matchup for anybody on the Toronto Raptors, and yet they couldn't box him out. OG could at least get a butt to a hip and push that man out of the paint and grab a rebound. That's all that it would have taken this evening, Ben.
Yeah. Horford for pretty cheap. Also, shout out to Rio McLovin. This guy has been calling for people to hit the like section all podcast, so you're the GOAT for that. Everyone that hits the like section, we appreciate you. Helps us out a lot. But yeah, what did it bring back Bebe? Bring back Bebe?
He's retired. Injuries.
I say we do it. I say we do it for the culture, for the memes. Vucevic, any chance in the world we could get Vucevic?
No. You're trading Vucevic to restructure your organization. You know, you're trading away your franchise centerpiece to take a step forward, similar to, you know, moving Kemba Walker, letting him walk, whatever. Terry Rozier, that was questionable, but now all of a sudden Charlotte's back in the mix. You'd have to think that moving Vucevic, although different completely in terms of the situation, would have to be a similar restructuring mechanism or tool, same as Charlotte Hornets would have been looking at.
Yeah, no, for sure. Asha Pradesh is calling for people to sub. Definitely sub as well. We're on the road to 20k subscribers, so definitely agree with that. Horford would be an interesting pickup. I think he would be. Don't want his contract. Don't want his money to go around, and he's in the same boat as a really aging player, and we have a younger core. So I don't know if Horford would be the guy I want there. Yeah, and I guess we'll end it off. I saw a take saying that if I got a fade, Riker, if I got the haircut, the Raptors would be guaranteed to win a championship. So I don't know. This is the first time I've ever had my hair grown out long, and it's the first season in maybe like 8 years since the Raptors have been bad. Is that a correlation, a coincidence, causation, Riker?
It's definitely not causation, Ben, so you can sleep easy this evening. Let's finish off this podcast. I appreciate everyone that was into the comment section. And again, if you are watching this all the way through and you're jealous you didn't participate live time, definitely subscribe. check out the next podcast episode.
Yeah, no, for sure. You guys are the best to make it this far. Check out the Twitter, the Instagram, all the cool stuff. Got an exciting video and article being posted tomorrow, so check out the website. You might catch that a little bit early, but stay tuned, stay subscribed. We're on the road to 20K subscribers. Check out the TikTok, all that cool stuff. You guys are the best to make it this far. We appreciate everyone in the chat. We're really enjoying this sort of format, but we're signing off. Any last words, Riker?
2-day break, Ben. Recharge. Refresh.